Hi, my name's Echo. Okay, so today I am going to be presenting to you the third installment of my sketchbook tours. If you haven't seen the first or second, then you can click here to see those. They should open in a new tab. If you can, stay all the way to the end for cool announcements and stuff. I'm sorry this video came out so long, but this is one of my largest collections of artwork, so let's just get right into it. So here we have a collection of work from 2007, 2008, and 2009. There is a little bit of chronological order to this, but for the most part, it's kind of just a big mixture of drawings that I had in a pile. Also, I have my to-do list written all over my wrist, so if you see that, that's what it is. What is this? This is actually just a leftover piece of paper from 2010, 2011. I am a loser. So let's actually move on to the drawings. Back when I was a teenager working at a grocery store, a coworker had asked me to draw a picture of a wolf howling at the moon. So I drew this, photocopied it, I gave him the original, and then he complained about it. This is one of the most annoying things that you can do to an artist, especially if they're doing it as a favor. So with the second one, I gave him the photocopy and I kept the original, as Bob Ross intended. With this one, I found these two characters online, and I just kind of wanted to put my own spin on the character designs. So I was kind of trying to draw like a little chibi toddler, and I think I tried to give her a little bit of a maid outfit, or this hat was particularly inspired by the hats of maids. I just thought it was really freaking cute, so I drew it. Such is life. She's actually an older teenager who is babysitting this little girl and wearing the bunny ears just to kind of humor her. Next page. In this one, I was trying to draw an anime version of Wendy, you know, from Wendy's. And then with this one, I was just trying to practice the facial proportions of a child. Next page. In this one, I was still trying to figure out how I wanted to do the underline for eyes. So with this one, I just tried drawing nothing but the lashes without a solid underline. A lot of the time, I just draw things for the sake of drawing, and they don't really have any kind of motivation or intention. But I do remember small decisions that I would make as I was drawing the figures. This one was inspired by a specific anime that I do not remember, but in that person's style, they drew very sharp chins and cheekbones, so I decided to try and replicate that style. A lot of what I've learned about drawing, I've learned by trying to copy other styles, just for the sake of improving hand-eye coordination. You really do learn a lot. Here we have a wonderful picture of Walter White, JK, lol, rolling. In this one, I was just trying to draw an older man for a comic idea that I had but didn't go through with, and this one was also a male figure for a comic that I wanted to make but never actually finished. With this one, I was trying to do something a little bit more realistic, but also kind of, superhero-like. I believe this one was actually inspired by X-Men the Animated Series. My original plan was to give her a completely organic-looking skin, but after I drew the cheeks, it just didn't look right, so I kind of ended it there. This one was inspired by the artist Yu Watase. I used to subscribe to a magazine called Shoujo Beat, which is like the teenage girl version of Shonen Jump, and I had just about every magazine up until it was discontinued. And now we start to get into the red and black. In this, I just kind of wanted to make a very intense combat type chick, and then with this one, I was just practicing drawing facial features. This is kind of early in the stages where my obsession with red and black began. I just had a really nice red pen, and I wanted to incorporate it into so many drawings. This is honestly still one of my favorite early drawings. At this point, I was kind of branching out with hairstyles. I had bought a magazine full of haircuts, and I was using it as inspiration for drawing. This one was inspired by kind of like a scene girl haircut. I figured my hair would never look like that, but you know, I could draw it. Power to the artists. And then this one's just kind of like a polar opposite. It looked better in the magazine. The main focus of this one was to make it look kind of like childish and cat-like, because I had seen pictures online where people would do this mouth where it's kind of like a W. This is also me just practicing with ink. I cannot remember what the original inspiration for this one is, because when I look at it now, all I think is Star Trek for some reason. Wipe. At this point, I was still practicing drawing children. I want to point out that if you see this cross going across the face, it usually means that I didn't finish the drawing, or that I didn't ink it, or that I just didn't go back through and erase it. Here you can kind of see little small remnants of that section going across the face where I had gone through and erased it out because I was content with this drawing. With this one, I really didn't like the positioning of the right eye, so I just didn't really bother to finalize it. And the anime continues. With this one, I was trying to learn how to draw a body, so I drew a more full-bodied figure. And then this one was actually a local newscaster that I was trying to draw, but I didn't really like it, so I put Freaky Lady, ha ha ha. Yeah, okay, next. In this one, I was kind of just trying to practice eyes. A lot of the eyes that I drew were very, very round, but I wanted to try drawing them more like the Pokemon style, where the eyes are extremely elliptical. This one was actually inspired by the song Major Tom. Calling Major Tom, the ship is waiting, all systems are go, are you sure? Pretty straightforward. I also wanted to try and draw some pretty intense shadows, and I failed miserably. Next page. With this one I was just scribbling, but decided to take advantage of it and give her some specific personality traits to kind of develop her as a character. Her name is Sylvia. She listens to the radio on weekends and hides a butcher's knife between her mattresses. She buys used books at thrift stores so that she can tear out the pages one by one, crinkle them into little balls, and throw them on the floor. She believes it's the only thing keeping her from going crazy. In this one I was kind of trying to break away from all of the anime and develop my own way to draw eyes, and that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Both of these drawings are just me trying to develop a personal style, partially inspired by anime and partially inspired by goth comics. I also really liked emo and goth youth subcultures. I don't know why, they just fascinated me and I thought they were beautiful. This was yet another drawing that I never inked in, but I wanted to just give it that kind of creepy goth comic feel. Feel the love. At one point I was planning to make a book, and this was just one of the characters that I was going to have in that book. I made this one during my silhouette phase, but I never finished it, so I just kind of shuffled it in with the rest of my drawings. These were some scribbles that I believe I did in Spanish class. I did so many of my drawings in my Spanish class. Here we have a drunken panda. Yet another anime scribble. I was constantly trying to get the eyes right. This is a drawing of kind of like an emo skunk, and I drew that because it was around spring break, and every spring break we would get these skunks living under our house, and then every single year we would have to call an exterminator and he would have to come and pick them up. So skunks kind of had a big part in my life, so I kind of drew them every now and then. A game that I used to play all the time when I was younger was Neopets, and I actually used to make screenies, which are comics that you put on your pet pages. And the character persona that I had made for my screenies was a character named Neko. So if you would like to see some of the earliest content that I ever put on the internet, there will be a link in the description. With this one I was actually hanging laundry for my grandmother when the sole from my shoe fell out, but I thought it was kind of inspirational, so I actually drew a picture of my sole falling out. I was a strange teenager. These are just some character scribbles for a comic that I wanted to make but never did. And then here I have a bunch of anime eyes. I found this beautiful image online that just had a bunch of iconic eyes from animes. And so I picked out all of the ones that I really thought were just beautiful and I tried to draw them. And here we have some proof that I was a teenage girl. Fancy, fancy anime boys. Next. With these two, I believe they were partially inspired by the Boondocks, but also by this random image that I found online that I just thought was really pretty. And the way that this person drew their noses was just fascinating to me. Here we have a cute emo boy, because that's what I thought about as a teenage girl. Loser teenage girl. And then this was just me practicing kind of drawing like a more sportsy chick. Sportsy lady. Cool, next page. This was yet another scribble that I did in one of my classes, and this was me trying to draw a young boy. I had a lot of trouble drawing children. Both of these are yet again just me practicing line precision and facial features. After drawing this, I realized that his eyes were slightly too low compared to his ears, so I wanted to try and see what it would look like if I just moved his face slightly up. With this one, I wasn't just practicing facial positioning, but I was also practicing line precision. For example, if you look here where this line starts, it's incredibly thin and then it gets thicker as it moves down towards the chin. Lines are the foundation of all things. This is just once again me being a teenage girl. And then I know a couple of you will recognize what this is from. This is from an anime called Ouran High School Host Club, and some of you are definitely going to recognize that. I don't have that much fan art in here so much as original work, but Ouran High School Host Club was an anime that I really did love when I was like 16. Swipe. In this one I was kind of trying to morph general body proportions to try and make my own style. It was okay, it wasn't as good as it could have been. This was something that I made for a class project. I was supposed to be making the wings with Photoshop, but it didn't work out as well as I would have liked it to. Next. At one point one of my teachers actually asked me to make some drawings for her to decorate her classroom for Halloween, so these were the ones that I gave her. This one was just a scribble that I did in one of my classes. This was a robot drawing that I did. I love seeing concept art for robots, so this was just a little robot companion that I imagined. This one is a self-portrait scribble that I did based on the style that I used to use for my Neopets screenies. If you want to see those, there is a link in the description. As for the style of this one, if you look back in the very first sketchbook tour video I did, there's actually two drawings that are in a very similar style. This was actually the third piece in that collection. And then I believe that this one was the last drawing that I did in that style. With this one I had found a Japanese cooking tutorial comic online, and I really liked the style that it was drawn in, so I decided to go ahead and try and draw myself in that style. The body proportions are a little bit strange and the hands came out kind of weird, but I really do like how this one came out as a whole. This one is an original character based on the show Samurai Jack. Samurai Jack was a beautiful show, and I've actually heard that they're bringing it back, and I'm so excited for that. Next. This one is a monster original character that I made, also inspired by Samurai Jack. So it's actually all just part of a set. These ones were inspired by the animated movie Chicken Little. This one was yet again just inspired by a picture that I found online. Next page. This was a personal study that I did with facial positioning. So in one of the previous sketchbook tours, there was one page that had a bunch of scribbles of character design sketches, and these are more developed versions of those scribbles. It was actually meant for a comic that I wanted to make called My Dead Brother, about a girl who was being haunted by her dead baby brother. Okay, moving on. With this one, a classmate just asked me to draw him, so I did, and that's pretty much all there is to it. With this one, I think I was kind of trying to blend the ideas of something tribal and steampunk, but this is yet again something that I didn't completely finish. Next page. Here we have more of my dark art style shining through. This one was supposed to be kind of like a jack-in-the-box against a mirror. This one was kind of just inspired by the punk youth subculture in combination with the style of goth comics. I really admire punk fashion. I just think it's absolutely beautiful. Next page. This was a comic based on something that happened in my calculus class that just really made me realize how much of a nerd I am. The funniest thing happened in calculus today. So we were learning about the derivatives of trigonometric functions, right? And Mr. Myers had just explained that the equation of y equals sine x at x equals 2 pi over 3 is y equals negative 1/2 x plus 2 pi plus 3 square root 3 over 6 when Stewie says, that's quite the y-intercept. God, I'm such a nerd. This one is a scribble of a character that I call the Good Doctor. He's partially inspired by the dad from Invader Zim. A long time ago, I made a comic called Poor Polly Porcelain, and he was one of the main characters. I should probably post that online. Next. This one was a drawing that I was extremely proud of because the line work is just so beautiful. I used to have this amazing set of pens that would just make these beautiful fine lines, and I can't find them anymore. This one is very much my style. If I could say that I developed a style, the majority of it would look like this. And then over here, this figure was actually inspired by Candy Wife from The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. Next. So this drawing was actually made in 2009. It's very rare that I date my drawings, but these ones I did. This was yet again a bleeding bean. Every now and then I would draw these kind of bean-like shapes, and I would call them bleeding beans. And then if you look down here, I actually made a note that says, "This thing wants to make babies with you. Why else would it look so happy?" Whenever I see this, I always think of this really strange, bold laughter. You know, something like that. This was something I made for one of my graphic design classes so that I could try and do something with Photoshop. Next page. Hey look, more proof I was a teenage girl. This is me trying to figure out cute men's hairstyles, and I was failing miserably. Shush now. We'll meet again. Next page. Passion! This was yet again me obsessing over red and black. I just had a really nice pen. I'm actually really happy with this one. And then with this one, I had found a blue pencil, so I decided to try and make a blue-haired anime boy. That's not bad. Oh my. This one was just a concept art scribble for a sculpture that I wanted to make someday. And then over here, on a bunch of blank receipt paper, we have some scribbles of eyes, facial shapes, noses, and mouths that I did because I was bored at work. And I was in love with these ones. This one was a scribble that I did on a napkin at lunch. With this one, I was just kind of experimenting with a style, and I really liked how it came out. And then this one is me scribbling math on a wall. Here we have a bunny on a lemon. I don't know why. This was yet again something I did not finish. Next. This is a dragon thing that I drew, but let's talk about this one. When I was going to high school, I had a friend who was emo and I had a friend who was goth, so I drew an emo and a goth stitch because I'm a terrible person. With this one, I was kind of breaking into fashion design a little bit, and just looking back on it, it's so me, still with the red and black stripes. Millipedes and centipedes are very creepy little creatures. That being said, they're really pretty. So there was a period of like a month where I was putting this design on a bunch of my stuff. These were all inspired by a really, really annoying kid from my high school whose name I honestly don't even remember. This is totally where I belong, with the goth kids. I so fit in. Yo dudes, what is up with y'alls? He was really, really annoying, but he had a strong personality, so I figured he might make a good comic character. And this is something he would do. This one I drew because I had a really cool highlighter and I loved how absolutely vibrant pink it was. And then over here we have more of my silhouette phase. And then here we have some drawings of a character that I named Charlotte. She was partially inspired by the fox from Courage the Cowardly Dog. The reason I made these was to test out some very vibrant crayons and some metallic gel pens. Swipe! These were some scribbles that I made for a t-shirt competition. This one was kind of inspired by a Sailor Moon kind of feel. And here we have a business cactus. I'm playing with matches. Would you buy that if that was on a shirt? For this one of my friends in school actually asked me to draw an apple falling out of a tree, and I decided to take it just a tiny bit further. Wow, Daddy! No, baby. Yeah, I'm a little bit twisted. I think he actually needed this for a report on gravity, so I'm sure it made a very interesting slide. And then over here I tried to do something more realistic and realized that I fail at realism, but whatever, I tried. This is a photocopy of a drawing that's actually in another book. And then here we have a girl staring out the window into the rain. I think I'm going to die today. Back in the early 2000s, there were these fairy pictures that would kind of just float all over the internet. They were pretty much on every teenage girl's MySpace page, so I decided to try and draw something like that. Brace yourself for the terrifying. First we have an adorably cute kitten that I believe I drew for MySpace. And then here we have an image of a girl who has wings ripping through her back. This was actually an idea that a friend proposed to me and I really liked it, so I went ahead and I drew it. Look at all that teenage angst. And then for these, I actually had someone on the school board approach me and ask me to do some caricatures of all of the teachers, many of which I don't remember the names of. More caricatures. More caricatures. And then back to the anime. Here we have a colored pencil sketch, and then on the other side we have some stamped images. I am such a loser. This one was actually inspired by the color scheme of Starfire and the fairies from Neopets. This is a very pathetic printout of an image that I made in paint of one of my Neopets. Next page. With these, I was trying to practice realistic human proportions. So this is the version with the guidelines, and then this is a tracing that I did of that so that I could see what it looked like without the guidelines. This was actually a printout of a project that I had to do for one of my classes where we had to design a video game cover. So I made up a game called Crossfire. And then here we have a juice box. Now I had a whole series of these, but for some reason this is the only one that made it into this binder. Here we have a bunch of scribbles inspired by the style of Jonan Vasquez, blank nothingness. Here we have a sad goat creature who has just lost an arm. Poor soul. Here we have a couple more scribbles that don't really mean anything. A beautiful demonic ghost child. Another thing that I had a lot of problems with was drawing the same character in multiple positions to the point where it still looked like the same character. It's so much more difficult than it should be. And then here we have me trying to develop my style again. Here we have a scientist observing his own head in a jar. Or I guess observing his body, observing his head in a jar. And then on this side I just drew a hamster. Hi hamster. These ones were actually inspired by the artwork of a mindless self-indulgence album. I was really into mindless self-indulgence when I was in high school. And then this is more style development. And then here we have that robotic element that I just love. On the other side, I was practicing body proportions and body types. And then this is just a scribble that fit on the page. Next bridge. Here we have some more Jonan Vasquez inspired scribbles, and then on this side we've got some Chowder fan art. For some reason the humor in that show just really resonates with me. I just really loved it. And then the very last page I have in here is just a decaying alien. A beautiful rotting alien. And that is the whole book. Oh yes. This video has... Oh my god, dude, chill. First of all, since you made it to the end of the video, here are 50 awesome points. Keep being cool. Secondly, I have been sick twice in the last 14 days, so if my voice sounds like a dying cat, that's why. And thirdly, I want to show you something really, really cool. Check, check, check it. Sparkle. Sparkle for me, will you, Chewy? Chewy Bunny has his own poster. How cute. I am going to be selling these prints online for a limited time, and the first 20 are going to be signed. Link in the description. I'm sorry, this video was so huge, I just could not cut it down anymore. I tried. Please like it as a sign of forgiveness. I'm going to be moving in the next week, but I will hopefully see you later. Bye! Say goodbye, Chewy. Bye! Dude, no! Dog, no! Get off of the book! You can't be in this video!